StartupGeist Podcast. Learn from aspiring entrepreneurs and their journey over time. It shows entrepreneurs are not born. We are self-made.
Little warm up here on my end. Hey, welcome to the StartupGeist Podcast. This is a We Are Self-Made episode. This is the first out of 5 episodes where we document the journey of an entrepreneur over the next 6 months. And with me, I guess I mean I. This show is not a traditional show on entrepreneurship with witty quotes about failing fast and often, but a really honest look at the good, bad and ugly. It's an experiment, and I hope your listeners will enjoy it. Today I'm going to talk to Adrian Ingram, Australian entrepreneur. He's known for starting and building a successful publishing business, offering more than 200 ebooks on Amazon. And he recently launched a course, Freedom Self-Publishing, teaching us how we can do what he did. So his journey was covered in the episode number 12 of the StartupGeist Podcast. Tune in and listen about his journey. Today I welcome him again, and thanks for being on the show, and thanks for taking part in this experiment, Adrian.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's good to be back on and chatting to you. It's going to be a cool experiment.
Why do you take part in it? What do you think you're going to get out of it?
I just think it's a cool way for me to document what I'm doing. I suppose I'm already in a bit of a mastermind group where we kind of keep each other accountable, so I'm not really looking for that so much, but I think it's just going to be interesting to look back in 6 months' time and actually have videos and audio there to listen to and watch of what I was struggling with at that time and what I'm up to, from that point. I think that'd be really cool.
Cool. So you don't think it's a waste of time to speak every 6 weeks for half an hour to document your journey?
Not at all. You're not asking too much.
Perfect. Thanks. Yeah. Today I want to go over 4 things. So to warm up, I have a few questions to get to know you a little bit better. Then we're going to talk about your bigger goals in life. What do you stand for? Where do you see yourself in 20, 30 years? And I know it's a big question, but just have a vision, And then we're going to break it down in 6-month goals. And we're going to end with a public announcement of you committing to this experiment. How does it sound?
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good.
Cool. So the first question I'd like to ask you is, what's one bad habit you are trying to get rid of right now?
Well, that's a tough one right off the bat. What's a bad habit I'm trying to get rid of?
Okay, let's put this second. Let's say first, if you could be an animal, what would you be?
If I could be an animal, I'm going to say a bear.
A bear, why?
They get to sleep a lot and they are pretty scary. They're dominant,
Okay. Like Adrian, you sleep a lot and you're really scary.
I'd like to sleep a lot. I'd like to be big and scary, but...
Okay. And what's one bad habit the bear Adrian wants to get rid of right now?
Probably right now, to be honest, would be procrastinating a little bit. Right now I'm back at home in Australia with my family, and I find being at home, I procrastinate a lot more. When I'm overseas, I kind of have more of a purpose, I suppose. I'm more there for a reason to get stuff done.
Yeah.
When I'm here, the days just kind of roll into one and, you don't get as much done. So I'm trying to get more productive, really, is the main thing. Stop procrastinating as much.
What angles do you tackle right now? What's an angle where you think being more productive and stop procrastinating could help you?
As in a way to stop procrastinating? Yeah. What I've been doing is I tend to the night before, I'll write out my list of goals for the day and I'll actually schedule them in. So I'll say 6 a.m. wake up, 6 a.m. till 7 a.m., go to gym, 7 a.m. till 8 a.m., do this next task. And then by scheduling it in, if I don't get up at that time, then I've kind of messed my day up. Mm-hmm. So as soon as my alarm goes off, I'm I've got something to do right now. It makes it easy, so then I can just get up and jump straight into it.
And I would like to cover this as we follow the journey, and as you said, you're a part of a mastermind group, but maybe I can hold you accountable too. Maybe this is a point where you ask your mastermind to hold you accountable, but we definitely will hold you accountable of setting up a day and then not following through. And I know how hard it is, but let's see how we can manage to do so in the next
that'll definitely
six months. Another question I have here for you. If you could ask one person one question and they had to answer truthfully, how and what would you ask? You knowing that they don't cheat, they don't lie, you get an honest answer.
Okay, just one question. Oh man, that's really tough. I'd probably ask like a billionaire like Warren Buffett or something for like their secret or their bit of advice, something like that, something corny. There's nothing I really want to know that badly, I don't think, you know.
So why do you want to have his secret?
Oh, I mean, you just copy what success does, you know. Otherwise, you know, I might ask like O.J. Simpson if he really did it. That'd be like my backup. But yeah, I don't really have a single question I want to know. I think the guys that are really successful, the majority of them are pretty open anyway with what they talk about and what they do. But I don't know. Yeah, asking some questions to like a super successful person like that, I think could be pretty crazy.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy that we always think there's like a hidden secret to success? But as you said, like I agree, they are already pretty open. They think abundant, so they share their rituals, their routines, their successes, or success principles, but no one follows it. So that's an interesting point. For sure.
Yeah. But you know, just in case there is like some little golden nugget, it could be worthwhile. You know, there had to be people.
A little one. Oh, I agree. We should keep trying, right? Like keep digging. Like
that's it.
If you could change one thing about your life instantly, what would it be?
One thing about my life instantly, that'd probably be my health, to be perfectly honest. About 2 years ago, just under 2 years ago, I started getting kind of sick with an autoimmune disease called Graves' disease. I was only diagnosed at the start of this year with like what it is, but basically it was from like having antibiotics and they just wreck your gut bacteria, and it was all your immune systems inside your gut. And so that sort of affects, it can affect you in so many ways, like arthritis, that can be a autoimmune disease, you know, IBS, thyroid issues, which is what I have. So for me, I'm working on that now, just strict diet and exercise, getting lots of rest, and that kind of improves it over time. But if I could just like, you know, click my fingers and have that better right now, that'd be, no problems on my plate at all.
So can you get rid of it, or is this now like chronic?
You can get it, it's autoimmune, so autoimmune disease is chronic, but you can put it into remission. And so you can pretty much, basically what it is there's antibodies in my blood that think my thyroid's not part of my body, and so they will attack it. Mm-hmm. So basically the goal is to get those antibody levels into a kind of healthy range. And then there's no symptoms or no problems at all. Sometimes they can get rid of the antibodies altogether, but it can potentially come back. But the goal is to just get rid of it altogether, not have to worry about it, and then 99% chance nothing will come back. So that's the goal, to do it through, you know, diet and like herbal medicine and a real natural way. Because if I started taking like anti-thyroid medication, I'd have to be on that for the rest of my life, and it's constant dosing and everything. So for me, it's good reason to be really strict with the diet and strict with the medicine, and make sure I'm, you know, focusing on health 100%. So within the next few months, hopefully, by the end of the 6 months, hopefully I'll have that really under control.
How did it make you feel when you got the diagnosis, and how long did you need to kind of adjust, you know, living a healthier life, a more balanced life?
Well, I always felt that I was pretty healthy, but it was some like small dietary changes, I suppose, I wasn't sure of, and, you know, having antibiotics as well. Like I had really strong antibiotics that really kind of just destroyed me. So unfortunately, you know, that's how it started. But transitioning to eating healthy, that wasn't an issue for me at all. But as I said, it was probably close to a year before I got an actual diagnosis. So when I actually got the specific diagnosis, like that was actually a good day. Because then, you know, I knew what I had to do to kind of attack it and combat it. So, yeah.
Yeah, knowing what is going on, it's always good, right? Instead of like being in the dark and like foggy vision, like this doesn't... Is there anything you can share on how to prevent this from happening? Or
So basically all autoimmune disease, from what I understand, start from the same thing. And so there's like 100 different common illnesses like fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, all that kind of stuff is autoimmune, and that all starts in the gut. So basically, A lot of times it'll start from a bad diet. So if you're eating too much, like gluten is a huge one. If you might not be celiac, but somewhat intolerant to gluten, try and cut that out for a month and see how you feel. Also, if you're taking antibiotics, take probiotics as well, because that's going to like balance up that gut bacteria. That's something that most doctors won't really tell you, but it's kind of like a necessary thing. Because antibiotics, they don't just kill bad bacteria, they kill good bacteria as well. So it's kind of like a clean slate, and then that makes room for bad bacteria to take over, or gut dysbiosis, which is like an imbalance of gut bacteria, because you need good and bad. So that's the main things, watch what you eat. A paleo-style diet seems to be the best. We're eating natural type stuff, and probiotics, that's a huge thing as well.
Would you contribute any of your entrepreneurial journey over the last few years? And you started early, even though you're just 22 or 23 right now. You started when you were 15, 16. Would you contribute any of your entrepreneurial journey to this disease, that you haven't taken care of your body, or that you wish you could go back and say, like, I had a more balanced, a more healthy life so that my body doesn't react in this way?
Yeah, potentially. So one thing that may have made me more susceptible to this was that I used to really smash a lot of caffeine, energy drinks, fat burners, pre-workouts, coffee. I was having a lot of caffeine. I wasn't sleeping very much as well, which can kind of mess up your cortisol levels. It just like burns your adrenals, which are related to the thyroid. So that's kind of a weak spot for me because I did do that. So I did have, a lot of early mornings when I was trying to set up a business on the side of my job and of uni. So that I don't really regret it because it got me where I am. If I could have just been eating differently, I think I would have prevented that and maybe not abused caffeine so much. So if you're out there and you're having 5 coffees a day, maybe it's a good idea to take a couple of weeks off. It's going to be tough, but like it'll do you some good. But yeah, on the other hand though, once I started getting sick, I had lower energy, mood swings, that kind of thing. And I just didn't feel like working. So at that point, I kind of didn't work as much and my business suffered because of that. So it's a double-edged sword, it's had effects both sides.
And it's always this balance, right? Like we think we can be sprinting all the time, but that's not how our body is designed. So we need this. I now believe in on and off seasons a lot. And thanks for being honest. And I think of course, looking back, we can't be regretful of what we did, but we should be learning and do better in the future. And that's the right attitude you bring to the table right now. I love it.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. Do you think that we want to be checking in on this one? Like how you balance your sleep, health? You want to be held accountable for this? I can ask questions around this.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not something people talk about much, and it's something like 20% of people have an autoimmune disease in their life, so it's super common. So I don't mind covering it. There might not be much change every 6 weeks, but between now and 6 months' time, there should be a big kind of change.
Yeah. So okay, let's put this down already, and I know we're going to speak about the 6-month goals a little later, but when it comes to getting this in order and controlling this from a proactive standpoint, where do you want to be in 6 months? Like, how do you want to feel, or like, can you put this into a goal that is even measurable, or that we can hold you accountable for?
Okay, so at the start of this year, I got blood results, which is when I had the first kind of test, and I tested positive for antibodies, and it measures a number of antibodies in your blood. I haven't actually had a checkup on that since the start of the year because I was away. So I've come back on the treatment plan and I have my first blood test again. I'll get my results on the 9th of November. So just before I head back to Chiang Mai, just under a month from now. And at that point, I'll have antibody levels. And then so the idea from that is, each time period, I want to see that be a lower figure. I want to see less and less and less. That's the goal. So there'll be some tweaking in the diet and the way we attack it and everything. But that's the goal, is just, every 6 weeks, whenever I have a new checkup, new blood work done, it should be a lower figure.
Perfect. I love it. I put this down. 2 more questions before we go into the bigger goal. What makes you get up in the morning and why? What's the best piece of advice you have ever been given that you want to share right now?
Okay. I got asked this in an interview not long ago, and it was a written interview, and I had to kind of sit there for 30 minutes or so and think. So I have an answer ready for you. It is, Yeah, it is. Those that mind don't matter, and those that matter don't mind. So basically, it's saying anyone who really is going to hate on you or care about what you're doing or complain about whatever lifestyle you're living, they don't really matter. The ones who matter in your life are the ones who don't mind, who are all for it, all supportive. So, when you think of it that way, that made me really confident to put myself out there and put myself out on YouTube and go on things like podcasts, where previously I would have just kind of stayed in my room, worked, made my money, and not really cared about anyone else, because I would have kind of worried about, oh, what if someone sees me on YouTube? What are they going to say? Whereas now, I'm getting close to 1,000 subscribers. I've had from that a bunch of people go through my course or just listen to my advice, listen to my podcast. I've had people reach out to me because they've heard me about Kindle, and they've got into it themselves and they've started making money. Some have quit their jobs. And so if I didn't take that advice and I just kept it all to myself, then I never would have got to help those people and have that experience of, them doing well because of something I said, something that's really simple. So those that mind don't matter, and those that matter don't mind.
I love this advice. I have a follow-up question on this. How can we deal with it when it comes to family and really close friends? Because actually leaving them behind, it's not really easy, or maybe not useful in a lot of cases. What would you answer to this one?
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, for me, I'm pretty blessed. My family is quite supportive of what I do. Thankfully, I know for a lot of entrepreneurs, that's not the case. So I'm quite lucky, but I suppose with friends as well, I think some of my friends wouldn't understand what I do, wouldn't understand the lifestyle I'm living, but you got to just kind of grit through it and develop a thick skin. I mean, I've made so many friends this year overseas, and I talk to them just as much, if not more, than my friends from home, who I love as well. But it's not the end of the world, just dive in, do what makes you happy. You're going to live once. And I think your friends will come around eventually if they really are your true friends, and they'll understand. Family can be difficult. I mean, I don't really have experience with a family kind of looking at it negatively, thankfully. But I think it's just something you've got to do what makes you happy.
I agree. And how I approached it was, I have a few friends at home who might even be listening right now, but I don't consult them for business advice. They're just my anchors in life. More like, we shared the journey together. We went to uni, or even before, from my childhood when I played soccer. And they really ground myself, because that's not about business shit like we always speak about, right? And it gives me a break from this entrepreneurial journey too. So that's why I really enjoy hanging out with them. But of course, like over the past years, I've been meeting a lot of entrepreneurs, and I would now call friends. And mostly it's about the journey we go through. And as you know, it's overwhelming and fulfilling too. And if you always talk about it, you never have a break from it. So that's why I enjoy having like both sides. And in terms of family, tough one. And I remember that in our podcast you talked about it, that either your mom or your dad, they weren't like really approving, and at some point they saw how successful you were with your business, and that made them believe in you and not going to uni or going into a full-time job. So that's always a good point, I guess, to convince parents to show them that it works, that you work hard.
Yeah, I suppose, show them. I mean, my parents weren't really against it or anything. They just kind of were unsure, I suppose, What I do is unorthodox. What most of the digital nomad type people do is pretty unorthodox, traveling with minimal stuff while you work. It's pretty different. But once you can see it happening, I mean, it's hard to fault that.
Yeah, and one point I want to add to this, like traveling. For me, it's really living. So I live in Chiang Mai, then I live in Bali or another place. For me, it's not so much traveling. I think that's the misconception a lot of people have as well. And I still need to teach my parents that, no, I'm not traveling. I'm not on an island in Thailand all the time. Or actually, I'm not at a island at all. So, yeah, you need to educate them.
That's true. I mean, I got home and everyone asked, how was your holiday? And like there was some aspects of holiday. I was having fun and posting stuff on Instagram and Facebook, but I was working a lot of the time as well. I wasn't just partying every single day. So it's hard to convince and hard to show them that, but yeah, we know what goes on.
Yeah, I'm going to publish a Facebook post soon where I outline all the negative sides of being a digital nomad. Like missing your friends, missing your hometown, missing stability to some extent, and how you can get it as well. But just to, on Facebook we always share this amazing stuff, and then people get a little angry when I shared like a sunrise the other day. Like a friend of mine who was on the show as well, he said like, okay, now I block you for the next 6 months because we're gonna go into winter and you are enjoying a good life there. I get it, right? But okay.
Yeah, it's not all bad, but there's definitely positives and negatives for sure.
Yeah. Before we deep dive, that's the last one. When you die, what do you want to be remembered for?
When I die, what do I want to be remembered for? Probably more than making money or doing cool stuff would just be kind of like a legacy, I suppose, of, helping other people in a way. I mean, inspiring other people. It doesn't always have to be that I gave them money or I helped them out financially or, whatever. I think we're living in a really cool time now where like we're putting stuff out on YouTube, which, long after we're dead, we're the first kind of age it's been documented. And, for my great grandkids will be able to probably watch this interview and, so having that there and being able to, everything you do being recorded, I think that's really cool because like if I can leave something valuable behind that's going to inspire some people, for who knows how many hundreds of years, that'd be pretty cool, an ongoing kind of legacy. That's what I want.
That's cool. Yeah, I agree. I mean, can you imagine like even the younger guys? I mean, I still would call myself a digital nomad and you are more of a digital native. And you are more of a digital native than others as well. But can you imagine all the like teens growing up right now in 10, 12 years old? Like, fuck, they don't know a world without internet, without YouTube and all this stuff. Yeah. They are documenting their whole life, right?
Yeah, it's crazy. They never had to have dial-up internet or any of that,
So crazy, it's true.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you ready for the bigger goals in life? What's your mission? Do you have a mission right now? And what are your bigger goals you're working towards?
Okay. I wouldn't say a specific mission. I really struggle to set super long-term goals because the plan is always kind of changing. I've got a bit of a vision sort of where I want to be, and that's just, financially stable, comfortable, not really having to work. That's the plan. The longest-term goal that I have right now would be I'm working on a secondary Kindle account, and it currently has 11 books. Over the next 3 to 4 months, I'd like to get that to 25 to 26 books, and then kind of make my exit from Kindle sort of around February, March 2017, and just have that come in passively. So that's the aim for me, and then have that come in as like passive income. Also, the next thing I'm trying to work on now is currency trading, Forex investing. I've got a couple of friends that are doing quite well with that. And so I see if I can have this kind of passive income almost coming in from these Kindle accounts, I'll be able to travel on that and also invest quite heavily into currency exchange, the Forex market. And if I can do that well, I can dedicate a lot of time to that. I can, the compound rate that you can have on your money, I think that's the path for me. So, yeah. And then from then on, it's it's pretty passive. It's when I want to work kind of thing.
And I know you're like a lot of people might confuse this with, oh, he is not ambitious or he is not driven, but I know you're extremely ambitious. And I think that's what a lot of people get wrong about passive income. It's like, oh, I don't want to work anymore. That's not true. I think the sentence would be, I don't need to work anymore. And then I proactively choose the projects and the people I want to work with. And then it doesn't necessarily need to be about money. But as you said, like financially, I want to be stable. And then I have all this time and space.
That's it.
Right? Why, 2 follow-up questions on this one. Why a second Kindle account? Why 25 books? And why then getting out of the game that you know so well and getting into a new game, currency exchange trading?
Okay. So firstly, my original Kindle account, it has around 200 books in it. And that was a big learning process for me, 200 books. Most of them are really bad. And I did a bad job, honestly. That does not make me a lot of money. That makes me from 200 books, it makes me around 2,000 Australian dollars per month. Mm-hmm. From that many books, it should make me a lot more, but that is completely passive. And so I actually stopped publishing for quite a while, mainly when I was getting sick. I just didn't want to do it. I was so bored of it. I decided to set up a second Kindle account when I was actually creating my Kindle training course, just to kind of use as a bit of a case study. And I decided I'd publish 4 books. I actually really enjoyed it. Those 4 books did really well. And so I've just been adding to that basically. And so last month, from the new account, which at the time had 8 books, I've just published 3 more. From 8 books, it made me $2,300. So it made me more than the original one. So my goal here is to just put out really quality books, keep following the same launch process that I've been doing for the last, 11 books that I've got out there, and build that up to a point where it's, at least $4,000 a month passively, preferably higher. But if I can keep my original account at 2, new one at 4, that's $6,000 a month plus whatever my course brings in. Yeah. That's enough for me to kind of travel, not just Thailand or cheaper countries, but also places like Europe. I want to visit a lot of Europe next year.
Please come to Berlin next summer.
Oh, it's on the list. It's on the list for sure. I'll be in Germany for Oktoberfest, I think. But yeah, so I'll be working on that. And then the reason I want to get out is it is quite passive once you've done it. And I've been doing this for about 3 years now, which it's passive. I know what I'm doing. It's not too difficult. It's honestly, in my opinion, the easiest way to make money online, but it gets pretty boring after a while. So, to me, the Forex, it's just a challenge. It's something to, tickle my brain a little bit. Finance at university was my favorite subject before I left uni. I really enjoy it. It's something that's always interested me. So I think that'd be really cool. And you can kind of make money on demand almost with Forex. You get on there, you see a good trade, you place it, and you're making money, right then and there out of nothing basically. So it really appeals to me in that sense.
So your goal by the end of this documentation is to have 25 Kindle ebooks published on your second account, then not touching it at all anymore.
That's it.
Stop kindling and getting into a new challenge. What's your goal there over the next 6 months? Have you done your homework already? Are you talking to the people who are successful and you're emulating them, copying them? What are your next steps there?
Yeah, so I actually signed up for a course called Infinite Prosperity. I've been through that. It's just all swing trading at the moment. I was watching that there's a guy on YouTube called Lewis Mocker who runs this Infinite Prosperity course. He's an Australian guy. He's only a few years older than me. He just bought a Lamborghini from his, trading profits. So I've been following him for a while. And when I was in Chiang Mai, I actually met a guy from Scotland called Craig, who's now one of my best mates. And he told me that he was doing Forex, and he said that he'd been through that guy's course. And I went, whoa, I've been watching that guy. So I knew it was a real deal. I've since, talked to Craig a lot about it. He's really pushing me with it, gives me a lot of advice with it as well. And he's starting to have some really incredible results, like 10% plus returns every single month, which is just mind-boggling to me. So my goal is to I don't expect to make money straight away. I'm actually just about to put money into my live account today and start trading. But the idea is to just learn as much as I can. It's a new challenge, something to sink my teeth into and just to learn and learn and learn. So by the end of this 6 months, I'd like to be knowing what I'm doing really and, consistently making profit, not going backwards.
Yeah.
Would be the aim. Yeah.
So I have, maybe it's a little too harsh, but I want to ask anyway. So you said your legacy is helping people, and your course is. Oh, by the way, I didn't ask you how much are you making with the course per month right now? Adding to the 2 Kindle accounts.
So last month was the best month so far. I've just increased the price and relaunched it. Last month I made around 1,800 Australian. This month so far I'm at about 1,500. So hopefully this month will surpass last. So the goal is 1,500. The goal is $1,500 to $2,000 a month. If it makes more than that, that's great. It doesn't make me a fortune, especially compared to the books, but I do enjoy it. It's cool seeing other people do well with it. That's
true. What's the price point right now, and how many? That's completely passive too, right? Or are you doing promotions, Facebook ads, or actively posting in Facebook groups or whatever?
Okay. Yep. So it's $97 once off for a lifetime access to that. I haven't done much marketing for it, to be honest. I mean, my YouTube channel brings in a bit, and another big thing is just going on podcasts and people's YouTube channels and that kind of thing has been good for me. I did try and run some Facebook ads for a while. It was tough kind of targeting the audiences, but I'm finding I'm just organically starting to gain some traction just from putting myself out there, on YouTube and blogging, and just being, authentic, not too salesy. I'm finding that's just kind of having the reach that I want. I don't want 1,000 members tomorrow. I'm happy to just have it ticking over.
Yeah. And now comes the harsh question. So your legacy is about helping people and whatever you can. And this is definitely a way where you can help people. And as you said, like, if you truly believe and that's the easiest way to make money online, you can help so many people out there, because we all have something to share in an ebook, and probably in 5 or 10 ebooks. And even if we don't follow your system in outsourcing the writing and whatever, there's potentially business been made, right, for a lot of people. But now you go into foreign currency exchange trading, which is making money out of money, which is good for you. So you reinvest the money you made, but it's just for you. So how do you balance this? Do you know where I'm getting to?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, yeah. So I will still have the course continuing to go. And another thing that I'm getting really into lately, especially when I'm traveling, is YouTube. So I'm starting to do like daily vlogs and that kind of stuff, and just showing what I get up to, what I work on, what the lifestyle is like. And just from doing that kind of thing, I think opens people's minds up to what is possible. So maybe they'll try Kindle, maybe they'll try dropshipping. I tried dropshipping for a while, and I documented all of that on YouTube, even though I wasn't successful with it. Stuff like that, just putting myself out there and showing people what's kind of possible. I think that will get them to kind of take their own path, because, I don't really care if people do Kindle publishing or do Forex or Amazon FBA, as long as they do something to kind of get them to where they want. It's just the vehicle. It's not it's the end destination that you're really after. It doesn't really matter how you're going about it, but, as long as you can kind of chase those goals of being like location independent, or, just earning a little bit of extra cash on the side can be life-changing for some people. So just motivating people to do that, I think, is huge.
Yeah, I agree. And as now you're teaching people how to do Kindle publishing, and maybe now you figure out how this next challenge is cool or can be done, right? And then maybe you're going to share this as a journey too, and as a course too. So it's like constantly sharing what you learned and what kind of income streams you are creating. And that makes you an entrepreneur, right? So that might be the legacy right there. And
yeah. And at the same time, it's just cool to look back and see, what I was doing a year ago financially and, business-wise, and what I was focusing on. That's cool for me. So it's not like it's a chore to put stuff out there and, do things like this. This is good for me as well as good for everyone who gets to listen, and hopefully they take something from it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just my, making money out of money with this kind of currency exchange trading or any trading you make. I have like a little, I don't like this. So that's why I wanted to like poke you a little bit around this. In terms of financial goals, do you have a financial goal for the next 6 months? And what other goals you want to share so getting out of Kindle publishing, trying to do better and following through with your commitments and being less procrastinating? And I know it's really hard if you be at home, it's almost impossible, but it's really hard. What else, like financial goals? What other goals you want to share that we're going to track? And then let's say there's one big goal, and then we have like 1 or 2 sub goals.
Okay. One of the big goals, it's sort of like a goal for 2017, would be to make $100,000. And so what I'd like as early as possible next year is to hit $8,000 in a month. Because 8,000 times 12 comes at 96,000. It's kind of the benchmark for the 6-figure income. So that financially is my target for kind of next year. I want to clear at least 100,000. It's just that kind of magic number. Everyone wants to hit the 6 figures, so I'd like to hit that would be the main thing. And to break that down to a small level would be, by the end of this 6 months, I'm fully expecting to be making, at least for some of those months, $8,000 for the month. would be the goal, you know.
And in terms of physical and mental health, so you want to reduce the levels, right, that you talked about.
Yep.
Is there any other goal on a mental, spiritual, physical side of things in your life?
I do have physical targets. You know, I'm at the gym 6 days a week. Before doing this, my job was actually at a gym. I'm a personal trainer by trade, so I really enjoy the gym. I'm always setting new goals for that. So for that, I would like several things. You know, I want to get my squat up to 200 kilos for a single rep, deadlift to 220, and bench press to 110 kilos. They're the three kind of powerlifting strength goals. And also to be able to dunk consistently is another one. Yeah, so I've always been pretty athletic with the jumping, and I've come back and I could normally dunk it occasionally, and I came and tried the other day and I just couldn't get it anymore. So I'm back into it. I'm motivated again to kind of, you know, get that jump back.
I love this because with you it's so easy to talk about your goals, because with the others it's like kind of, I don't have these goals, and Felipe, who will be on the show as well, it's like, I don't believe in goals. Can I say this too? I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, everyone talks about having goals, and you are making money online anyway. So you're the living proof that you don't need goals. I mean, you can be internally driven or whatever you are driven by, but let's not bullshit other people that you always have to need to go or need to have goals. But with you, it's so easy because you have those goals, and I know on your blog and I'm gonna link to your blog post where you outline the goal setting method you use. And how you came up with the goals. Would you mind sharing your goal setting methods right now? And then we go into like one or two more questions, and then we're going to do the public announcement.
Cool. Yeah, so I'm kind of like a chronic goal setter, I suppose. I don't even like setting goals up to like 12 months. I find the long-term stuff changes too much. So I have a general outline for the 12-month goals. They always change though. But I'll set sort of like 3 to 4 month goals, or in this case, 6-month goals that I want to kind of hit. I then break that down normally into like a 30-day type focus. So I normally do this when I'm traveling. I find it easy because, like, for instance, next month I'll be in Chiang Mai for 30 days. So I can say these 30 days, I've just got to be productive for those 30 days. I want to get a lot done in those 30 days. And I'll set a lot of goals for that time period. And then from there, I'll go ahead and every single Sunday night, I'll write down what I want to achieve the following week. I share that in my mastermind group on the Monday, and also every night before bed I'll kind of tick off what goals I've achieved, and also I'll write my goals for the next day. So I start off with like a long term, 3 to 4 months, sometimes up to 12 months, break it down to 3 to 4, break it down to 1 to 2 months, break it down to weekly, and then to daily. And so what starts off as a really big task kind of ends up being this small to-do list object, which might just be go to the gym, or don't have a cheat meal. If you're trying to lose 50 kilos in a year, that might sound like a lot, but when you break it down to those really small steps, it all of a sudden becomes kind of achievable. So I'm really big on goal setting. It's every single day. I can't do without it, Yeah.
What kind of routines or habits do you have, for example, for consistently following through with your goals? I know from Garmin City, for example, that he, as you do as well, likes to front load the work. And one example of front loading the work would be, tomorrow I want to go to the gym, so I pack my bag already and get it ready in the morning. So if I'm tired in the morning, I don't need to do it in the morning. What are like a few tips or hacks you are using to follow through with your goals?
Okay, so one thing I do is I don't just write the to-do list, but I also write times that I'm going to do them. So it's like a schedule. And once I've kind of written that down and scheduled it, my alarm goes off, say it's 5:30 a.m., 6 a.m. I'm meant to start my day. I pick up that piece of paper. I might be tired, but I'm like, I've got to, do that. So that really, it's like a small subconscious thing, but that really seems to help, having it actually written down. Another thing I like to do is get most of my jobs done within like a pretty short time period. I find that we have these 8-hour work days, but people at work aren't productive for 8 hours. Most people could get that same 8 hours of work done within 4 hours if they were really like pushing for it. At least in my experience. So what I like to do is I'll kind of say I'm getting up at 6 o'clock and that's a real struggle. I want to sleep. I'll have scheduled all my goals to be done by like 12 p.m. or 1 p.m. And then after that, the day's mine. I can go back to bed if I want and have a nap. I can, relax. So getting it all done within a short period of time, just having like 3 or 4 hours where you say my phone's off, no distractions, no YouTube. I can do that later. Right now, I have to do my goals first. That for me really helps productivity-wise.
Yeah, and it's a huge incentive, right? Like the earlier you're done, the more free time you have, especially as an entrepreneur.
Okay.
And I struggle a lot with having long days and not setting an end to the day. And I think that's, in terms of Parkinson law, right? The more time you allow yourself to finish a task, the more time you take. But if you allow yourself to have an hour, you're going to get it done within an hour. And the same task, if you allow it to have like 30 minutes, you're going to get it done in 30 minutes, But I struggle with this, to be as disciplined as you are, to be honest, and then really follow through. I'm not checking like YouTube or like soccer sites or anything, but it's just sometimes things come up, and then I have a new idea. Yeah. I like to elaborate on it, and I write journal, or like I have a breakthrough, and then, oh fuck, you just spent 30 minutes on writing it down and strategizing. It's like, damn it. Yeah. But yeah.
I have that as well. I mean, particularly when I'm back at home here as well, I find that I'm a really competitive person. Like, I know what drives me. And so for me, signing up to a co-working space or going to a cafe where other people are working, I'll go there and they're working. So like, I've got to work, I can't be the slacker. I've got to like work harder. So that's a small, like, if you're a competitive person, that works for me. It'll work for people that are competitive, I'm sure. So that's another thing I like to do.
Yeah. In terms of your 6-figure income, and anticipate your biggest obstacles or challenges. And then another one if you achieve that goal, how will you feel by the end of 2017?
Okay, so, I mean, I'm getting closer now. Last month I did just over $6,000 in revenue, and total net profit was around $5,000. So I'm over the halfway mark, another 3 to go. I think if I just continue what I'm doing with these books, I should hit that figure. And also, as like my following kind of grows, I'm getting more and more people sign up to my course. That's more income as well. I can't see myself really not hitting the figure unless something happened with, say, Amazon, where they did something to my account. Or books tend to as well, when I first publish them, they'll have a big spike in sales and they kind of drop off and kind of level out. So making sure things are high quality, they're going to be an evergreen kind of product, that's a huge thing as well. So I'm pretty confident I'll hit that target. I think I've put in the work. I've had that target for years and years, and I think it's kind of time where it's all come together now. I've got it worked out. But so I think I'll hit that.
Okay.
But how I feel when I get there, I don't think it'll be anything crazy. I don't think it'll be an awesome thing to do. I like to reward myself along the way. I set myself a challenge that I'll buy myself a gold watch when I hit that $8,000 mark. So hopefully I can show off a new watch before the end of this 6 months. But yeah, other than that, it's just another dollar figure. It'll allow me to do certain things, which is cool. But I'm not going to go brag about it or anything. I'll be happy though.
Cool. Why not having a bigger goal? Like, it almost feels you are certain to reach it, and it might not be a big enough goal for you, especially you are a goal-driven person, and it feels like you are staying in your comfort zone by hitting the 6-figure income. Why not say 200K a year?
Okay. Yeah, look, that's fair. I think it is a decent goal, but I think I'm just very confident in what I can do and that I can get there. Who knows if that's how it'll play out, but I really believe I can get there 100%. Obviously, there's certain things that I don't know how they're going to play out. Like at the start of this year, I had the same goal, but my plan to get there was different. I planned to do a couple of dropship stores and make X amount of dollars per month from those. I planned that my course would make me more than it's making me. And these are things that I just didn't know about, whereas with Kindle, I can kind of gauge how much I'm going to make off that. But with something like Forex, which should be what I jumped into after this most likely, I don't really know what I can expect. So I could set a target. Who knows if I'll hit it? Who knows if I'll be miles off? So it's kind of tough with that. But if I could make $100,000 from mostly Kindle, that would be, I think, a really, really impressive income from Kindle. Anything else I get from investing or whatever, that's a bonus. I'm willing to lose some money to kind of learn in that area. So.
And in terms of Kindle income, is there a ceiling where you think your system works up until 100K or 50K or 200K? Or is there no ceiling when it comes to Kindle publishing?
Normally I would have said that the ceiling for most people is around that 100K kind of mark, maybe 200 for some. That seems to be where most people kind of get stuck, and it just gets to be too many books to manage. Mm-hmm. And, scaling kind of doesn't become worthwhile. However, some people kind of will really surprise you. There's 1 in a million people that will absolutely dominate it. So I had a guy message me a while ago. I think he heard me on a podcast, and he was asking me some questions about Kindle because he was starting to get into it. He messaged me every couple of months, and he just messaged me about a month ago. His name's Kyle. I think he's actually out in Thailand now or heading out there soon. And he's doing like $50,000 a month. Which it just blew my mind. He sent me a thing of his sales. I couldn't believe it. So maybe there's not such a limit that I thought. That kind of shattered my limiting beliefs a bit, I suppose. So that's by far the best I've heard of anyone doing though. So
is this based on your system, based on your product, or did he figure out a different system?
No, he actually contacted me before I had a product. He'd heard me just talking about what I do and everything. So he didn't go through my course in particular, but very similar method. Publishing non-fiction books to Kindle, doing the exact same kind of process, but just hit it out of the park. So. Yeah. That blew my mind, Yeah.
Thanks for sharing it. I think we all struggle with self-limiting beliefs, and we all struggle with goal setting. So especially when you're the ones who set goals, and I certainly struggle in a way and that's what I admire. So I could challenge you to say that's not a big enough goal, but what would happen to me? I would set probably 200K. I would work my ass off. Maybe even almost feel miserable along the way, not being really able to enjoy this journey. And then maybe I end up with 150 and 160K. So I might be making a little bit more than you do right now with your self-limited belief, but you enjoy the journey much more. You feel happy at the end. You buy a gold watch. Whereas I make 150, 160, I just look, wow, I'm here. My goal was here, not accomplished. I feel miserable. So I think that's the thing that sucks about goals. And I don't know what you feel about it, and then we're going to stop. But that's why I tend to invest into processes like routines right now, instead of setting goals where I don't know how to handle it. Is it a realistic goal? Is it a big enough goal? Is it too big of a goal? Whereas I say okay, I work each day on this. I work each day on that. And that's what I learned from James Clear, where he said, if you want to become a writer, don't set the goal of becoming a New York Times best-selling author. Just set the process in place that you're going to write 500 words every day. And this makes you a writer by definition. And what's your take on it?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I know you're big on your morning routines and having everything in processes, and I really do admire that. I think that's a really good way to go. As far as the big goals, I used to be the same. I'd set the big financial goal, and I wanted to make $1 million a year, and I still someday do. But I think this year I've spent 7.5 months overseas throughout Southeast Asia, meeting a bunch of people, and the funny thing is, you meet a lot of people that don't make that much, but they seem a lot happier. I know people in Australia that make, multiple 6-figure incomes. They do really well, but they're not as happy, And so I think having that balance, if I can say, with the amount that I'm wanting to work on this particular area, if I can hit 6 figures with that amount of work, then I'll be happy. If all I did was focus on money, I could probably make a lot more. But I've got different goals as well, like health, fitness. I'm trying to learn a second language. I've been learning Russian for the last 6 months or so. Just stuff like that, and goals to read a certain amount of books, things like that. If you're more balanced, I think you're a lot more happy, even if you make $50,000 less. Yeah. What's the difference between 100 and 150 when you're living our kind of lifestyle? Really,
it's true. Yeah, it's a good point. And the only things I remember from school from Russian is "Меня зовут Danny, я живу в Финляндии, igrać and читать," and all these words like lesen, to read and to play. Yeah.
Very good.
But it's a good point you're making. It's that what do you want in life? What do you optimize your life for? And if you, it's lifestyle, it can be happiness, it can be health. But for a lot of businessmen and entrepreneurs, it's becoming fucking rich, and this makes them miserable, right? And that's what I feel about our generation. We are in line with our values and what we want to achieve in life, and that's how we optimize for. So I admire this, that you set this goal, and then, you know, I want to have a life too. I have other goals too. I'm not a one-dimensional douchebag just working on my business, but I want to enlarge myself as a person. I'm a really young guy, and I know money won't make me happy in the long run. So I set other goals or skills I want to learn, and that's cool. That's really inspiring. Thanks for sharing this, Adrian.
No, I think you have to be balanced in everything you do. It's probably the biggest thing I've learned this year is to find that balance that I didn't have before. So, you obviously have it as well. I mean, you have your morning routines for like an hour and a half or something every day. So you've got it. Learning from you. It's great.
Cool. Thanks. Yeah, it's always inspiring, or like makes me happy if other people learn a little bit, like similar to what you do. Cool. So we have the goals. We talk about goal setting, and I like your approach a lot. We're gonna be speaking in 6 weeks. So we're gonna target a few books. How many ebooks you're gonna be publishing by then? Who you think?
Hey, 6 weeks. So I'll be in Chiang Mai then. I really want to ramp it up in Chiang Mai. I'm gonna say 6 weeks, at least 5 books, ultimately 6. 1 a week would be a great kind of, at least 1 a week. So I've got 11 books now, so if I could have 17 books by the time we next speak.
Okay, cool.
Perfect.
And then you settle in Chiang Mai. Obviously, you're going to lose a few days saying goodbye to family and friends coming here. I always forget to schedule this in my kind of work or like goals I want to achieve for the next month. But I'm excited to speak to you in 6 weeks. Looking forward to hug you in Chiang Mai, to see you. We're going to have a coffee, lunch, dinner, whatever. And last thing to do is like the public announcement. Are you ready to commit for another 4 episodes to share your journey in the next 6 months?
Yes, I'm ready to commit to another 4 episodes. Looking forward to what we cover, what we achieve together in the next 6 months. It's going to be really cool to look back on. So thank you, Danny, for the opportunity.
Thanks for being part of this episode, which is called We Are Self-Made. It's documenting the journeys of 6 other entrepreneurs. I'm going to share my progress weekly every Friday in a really short 10 to 15 minutes episode where I talk about what I did, what I'm going to do, and maybe 1 or 2 realizations I had over the course of the week. And I'm excited that you take part in this experiment. Happy to talk to you soon. Thanks.
See you, Danny.
StartupGeist Podcast. Entrepreneurs are not born, we are self-made. Please leave an honest rating on iTunes or leave a comment on startupgeist.com/podcast. Thank you for listening.